you're like more stuck in your ways. So it's
right.
More,
It's like less brain flexibility.
yeah.
Okay, so folks, I'm going to get started. I mean, as more people join, they can, you know, obviously jump in. The video I'm going to show you, it was a pre-recorded video. So the student who made this video is Chris Taylor. And as you'll see in the video, he didn't do this for, like, I teach him in 2 classes, but he didn't do this for a class. He did this completely of his own choice. He came up to me, he was like, I'm really interested in this topic. Can you maybe help me guide me with the research? And he presented in September. Teachers really liked it. And so he came back for another presentation. So it's about a 14-minute video. If the audio is bad, then I can also post the link in our chat. And then you can go and watch the video on your own for 14 minutes. But the idea is that we watch it together and then we can have a discussion about it afterwards. So as you're watching, I just encourage to think of like any questions or comments or things that stood out for you. I posted the link in the chat, but let's see how it goes, because maybe we can just watch it together. And please let me know if there's any audio issues.
I start this presentation, I just want to start saying I'm not here to offend anyone. I'm simply here to show you what I have learned. This presentation is not for any class or will give me any grades. This is simply me explaining why to look at climate change in a new perspective, in the perspective no one tackles or food. Otherwise, I ask you for the rest of this presentation to keep an open mind. So, hello, my name is Chris Taylor. I am an 11th grader. I was born in Guadalajara and I have lived here my whole life. As you can see, I love food. I grew up eating what everyone eats: burgers, tacos, hot dogs, tortas, pizzas, wings, you can name anything. Another thing about me is that I have always cared about climate change. I've always been really passionate towards stopping climate change. And I remember that I thought that we would solve climate change by riding less cars, turning off lights, taking quick baths, no más bolsas, right? But one day, after watching a documentary, I found that there was more than just that. In 2006, the UN reported that rearing livestock for consumption produces more greenhouse gases than all the transportation sector. I think most of you didn't know this fact. CO2 emissions. So, according to the University of California, animal agriculture is responsible for 20% of all greenhouse gases every year. The transportation sector only accounts for 14%. Why is livestock so bad? Methane. What is methane? Methane is a gas produced by cows and other farmed animals. This gas is formed in their digestive process system and is released as burps, farts, and or poop. Pretty funny, but destructive. According to the Harvard study by Jordan Wilkerson, methane is 25 times stronger than CO2 at trapping heat in our atmosphere. And unfortunately, cows produce 150 billion gallons of methane per day. In other words, these farts are literally deadly. Emissions increase. More than 228,000 people are born every day, saying that emissions are only going to increase if we don't change. The expert in environmental research and author to Comfortably Unaware, Dr. Richard Oppenlander, declares that without using any gas, oil, or fuel ever again, even without any sector, our emissions of CO2 will exceed the 565 gigatons of CO2 limit by 2030, all and only by raising and rearing livestock and eating livestock, sorry. Now let me tell you why this is a real problem. Energy-related emissions are expected to increase 20% by 2040, and emissions for agriculture are projected to increase 80% by 2050. Dr. Richard Oppenlander does not only report that livestock plays a major role in global warming, he also states that it is the leading cause of resource consumption and environmental degradation on our planet today. The effects of animal agriculture in the world. So, Noor, how much water do you think it takes for one hamburger? How many gallons of water?
I have
Yes.
like 5 gallons.
5 gallons. Okay. It takes around 660 gallons of water for one single hamburger. For 1 pound of eggs, 477 gallons of water. 1 pound of cheese, 900 gallons of water. 1 gallon of milk equals 1,000 gallons of water. And 1 pound of beef, 2,500 gallons of water. It is so bad that animal agriculture today is responsible for 20 to 33% of all freshwater consumption in the world. The reason why these products take so much water is because there are 70 billion animals reared worldwide, which all need to be fed with water-intensive grains. This is considered part of the virtual water footprint of that product. And then hydraulic fracturing, which is drilling holes at high pressures to fracture rocks for natural gas, is said to be the biggest water user. But in fact, in the US, hydraulic fracturing uses 100 billion gallons of water every year, but animal agriculture uses 34 trillion gallons of water every year. This is a great difference between the billion and the trillion, and methane emissions for both industries are nearly equal. Animal agriculture has also created more than 500 nitrogen flooded dead zones. That is according to National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Animal agriculture has comprised more than 95,000 square miles of areas completely devoid of life. And why is this? Because animal industries dump the animals' poop into our oceans, lakes, rivers, etc. And then habitat destruction. Rainforests are being cut down by a rate of an acre per second because of animal agriculture. To put this in perspective, an entire football field is cleared every single second because of this. Up to 137 plant, animal, and insect species die due only to rainforest destruction. Once again, this is all because of animal agriculture, cutting down the forests to graze and grow soybeans. Researchers say that the biggest contributor to habitat destruction is palm oil. I'd say otherwise, because 26 million rainforest acres have been cleared for palm oil production, and 136 million rainforest acres are cleared for animal agriculture. I'm not saying it isn't a big contributor, because it is, but still doesn't quite catch up to animal agriculture. It's like comparing math homework to PE homework. So to summarize everything, raising animals for food is responsible for 30% of the world's water consumption, occupies 1/3 of Earth's ice-free land, caused 91% of Amazon destruction, is the leading cause of ocean dead zones, is the leading cause of habitat destruction, is the leading cause of species extinction, and is responsible for 20% of all greenhouse gases. So, after all this information, we're left with the question, what is our solution? And after article, all stating that we must stop eating meat if we want to stop climate change, BBC, Daily Mail, The Guardian, Unilad are spreading this UN report. Why is this? Why is this that we need to change our diet to save the world? So as many people diffuse the saying, less meat, less heat, according to a documentary called Cowspiracy, a peer-reviewed meta-analysis film, for an average person to adopt these lifestyles, they save the following amounts of CO2 per day. So by not eating beef, they save 1.4 tons. By going vegetarian, saves 1.6, going vegan, 1.8. And then by switching to solar energy, 1.4, switching to a hybrid vehicles, 1.78, which is basically going vegan, and then switching to electric vehicle, 2.5 on top of everything. And then we have the land required to feed one person for 1 year varies for each one. So a vegan uses 1/6 of an acre, a vegetarian uses 3 times much as a vegan, and now a meat eater uses 18 times much as a vegan. This is about like 3 acres. That is about 3 football fields, meaning that you would need 3 football fields to feed one person for a year. This is because we need 1.5 acres to produce about 37,000 pounds of plant-based food, but with the same amount of land, you can only produce 375 pounds of beef. Also, every single day, a person who follows a vegan diet saves 1,100 gallons of water, 45 pounds of grain, 30 square feet of land, 1.8 tons of CO2, and most importantly, an animal's life. And this would be every single day. And then a person who follows a vegan diet produces the equivalent of 50% less carbon dioxide, uses 1/11th of oil, 1/13th of water, and 1/18th of land compared to the average person. In fact, according to BBC, if the whole world went vegan, we would only need 20% of Africa to feed the 7 billion people in this world. And Dr. Richard Oppenlander, the environmental researcher, recently stated that renewable energy infrastructure, such as building solar and wind generators all over the US alone, would take at least 20 years and at least $18 trillion to develop. No other lifestyle than veganism has a footprint that it has. It truly is the best sustainable way to live, and the best part is we can start right now. So, how does this connect with Goal 15 and 13? Goal 15 is about finding a sustainable way to use Earth's land while still protecting and preserving it. And then Goal 13 is all about taking urgent action against climate change and its impacts. If we want those goals to be achieved in a global and individual scale, the animal industry would definitely have to end. As I said previously, animal agriculture is the leading cause of major destructions such as the Amazon, ocean dead zones, habitat destruction, species extinction, and accounts for 20% of greenhouse gases. All of these imply that goals 15 and 13 are not being achieved. The impact of our food is huge, not only for our individual lives, but on our greater scale. And I decided to go vegan because I saw these statistics and decided to make a change. It took me a great while, of course, but I knew this problem is bigger than me and every single one of us. The less consumption of meat, the less reproduction of animals, and the less death and less methane emissions. And when it comes to sustainability, meat is off the charts. Even though some people will be reluctant to change, they should at least be aware of the impact that their actions are having in the world. So for the sake of our planet, let's promote people to eat less meat and less animal products. We need everyone on board to make the change we so desperately need. And then finally, here are some recommendations. They're all in Netflix, but the one called Earthlings, I encourage you to watch them. And then here are all my citations. And yes, that's all. Thank you so much for watching. Nor, do you have any questions?
Thank you. The facts are like heartbreaking, but also, I mean, very motivating for me, and I'm sure many people who are watching to change the way that they live. Yeah. I have a question, and I'm sure you get it all the time, but I want to apply, well, I don't know if veganism, maybe vegetarian to begin with.
Yeah.
Like a diet like that to my lifestyle. But my question isn't what do you eat? It's just how do you, like, how are your meals consistent enough and like filling enough without that source of protein?
So initially, all protein comes from plants. Animals themselves cannot produce protein and cannot make. So where do they get them? From plants. I'm just simply getting them from the primary source instead of the secondary source, which are animals. And I try to like just combine, you know, all the plant, all the kingdom of plants, you know, just like combining all the vegetables. And not only that, like sometimes I eat what I used to eat, like ham. There's just vegan ham and it has like the same protein amount. So it's just finding that, you know, those
alternatives,
exactly. And after, you know, quite a while, because I've been vegan for 1 year, and it took me quite a while to find those alternatives. And then And at first it's a great leap, and it's a great it's really hard because I initially started by being also vegetarian, and then I went pescatarian and then vegan. So my recommendation is start slowly. Don't go like, take that big jump, because it won't work. So just start, taking off meat slowly but surely. And yeah, you're gonna be like, with research, everything's gonna come at ease. So yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
that's all. Okay, thank you for everyone watching this, and have a good day.
Hi, everyone. Hi again.
Hi.
Why don't I open up the floor if anyone has any like initial reactions or comments or questions, and then perhaps I can guide us along with any other questions.
I have two. The first question was, they talk about, I think, gallons of water per pound of different products. And I disagree with the analysis in the sense that I would like to better understand the gallons of water per calorie, because in the end, it's not about how much weight of food you're eating, because 1 pound of meat provides with a certain amount of calories, but 1 pound of, let's say, lettuce doesn't provide the same amount of or nutrients or of calories, correct? Now, I'm not saying no, I agree with most of the presentation, but I say that for the presentation to be convincing, you have to address the calorie question, not the pound question. And that was kind of like a little bit of a question. And the other one is, I'm a meat eater, correct? In general, like I eat everything. I'm not like keto or anything of those kind of weird stuff. And I've had kind of conversations with my family and with myself about this. So my question is, it says beef, vegetarian, and vegan, correct? And I've read some statistics that mention that 80% it's the cow, is the beef, no? So I'm wondering if the word was chosen on purpose as beef from a cow, and then there is a big improvement if you say, okay, I only eat small animal farming, like, chicken and pig, for example. I understand that chicken, they don't emit methane. They may have a water print, no, but not necessarily that. So that was my question in general, like, is it beef or is it all meat?
Yeah, those are valid and good questions. From my understanding, it's only, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm obviously not the expert. I invited Chris, but he's probably doing his homework. I imagine that it's only cows that produce methane. I don't know about pigs, because I imagine pigs produce waste as well. But besides the methane in terms of the air, I know a lot of people have concerns about their feces, like the waste that ends up running into the water and poisoning the water, he never really touched upon that, but I know, say from chickens and pigs, that's an issue as well in terms of contaminating the water that ends up getting into our drinking water and stuff. Any other? Sorry, I don't actually have the answers for you.
No, it's fine. Those were kind of like the questions that were going on my mind, because I do want to help, and we've been lowering our meat consumption. I do have another family to kind of like pushes his back and like, what? We're not gonna have meat today. But those are my questions.
Yeah, it's definitely worth looking into, and I'm intrigued about the calories. In terms of like how much gallon is required for the calories, and if they thought about not even the calories, but like nutrition value of the food itself.
Yeah, that's my main question. I think I have in the span of Chris's presentation, convinced Zach that we are just not going to eat beef ever again. But we live in Montana, where we can get sustainable red meat from venison that is highly regulated, that is not made in a farm. Like my father tracks them over mountains, and then that's what we eat, is like live game. And so we can supplement our diets from that because we live in a rural area. But that is my major question is, can we as a world find a way to eat vegan and not supplement everything that we have been wasting on livestock, on like soy creation, right? Because so much, not every vegan substitute, like meat substitute, is created equal. You really have to read the ingredients that goes into these, like tofu or tofurkey type things. So how do we start in our smaller communities creating menus and meals, and like maybe community meals that are very diverse in their vegetable content and also plentiful in the protein content? I think that's what we're going to start here, because now that I'm back in the United States, our major meat productions are failing because of COVID. There's no meat being produced out of factories right now. And so it's the perfect time. It's the perfect time to not
we will
do
die.
It's really, I mean, I was a vegetarian for 3 years, and my body didn't like it as much as red meat, but I feel like I wasn't doing my part in creating the iron that I needed for my body. But I'm really impressed with Chris's presentation and his data, actually.
Diana?
We've sort of eaten low on the food chain. I mean, I have for like 30 years. So I'm not a vegetarian. I'm not a vegan. I just avoid meat most of the time for environmental reasons. And I can't say the exact statistics, but I mean, going vegan is probably the best thing you can do. But I've read something like, even if you cut your meat consumption by like 20%, it would basically fix the problem. It's not, you don't have to give everything up. You just have to make a few sacrifices. And
that, I think, is a great message for a community that's full of carnivores, right?
Yeah.
He did say start slow, and then, just, I mean, I don't miss meat at all. I really don't. And I eat chicken once in a while, and, but probably if I would have just, gone from my teenage years of living at McDonald's to, cold turkey, it would be a little bit different. But I think it's just being mindful of it, that it is very impactful, and just make a sacrifice a few times a week.
Yeah. I wonder if milk and cheese, which is my obsession is cheese.
Cheese is more impactful than chicken.
It's more impactful than chicken, no?
Yep. Anything coming from a cow.
Yeah.
I think it made me think of like in terms of food itself. Like I remember when I was a teenager, I went vegetarian, but like I was just eating all the like alternatives that they have in the store, which are I agree with you, like oftentimes very like overproduced and not necessarily the healthiest option. But now, like this time around, I've been eating mostly like my own cooking, like vegetables, beans, legumes, and I've been feeling a lot healthier. I think the culture of eating is like has to adjust in order to be able to eat vegetarian. Like I don't really miss meat. I mean, I do eat it once in a while, like if people in my household want it, but staying away from those like overproduced artificial things has been helpful as well, because then I'm actually getting like real nutrients from real fruits and vegetables and grains.
Yeah, you're not having the sodium issue. I feel like a lot of those are packed with sodium because they have to be flavorful in the same way that people are expecting the same meat flavor. I know this about my vegan cheese because I'm lactose intolerant, so I don't have real cheese. My life is really miserable. But yeah, like this cashew paste doesn't taste like cheddar cheese, but I mean, it does have a little bit more sodium in it than I would get from maybe a slice of cheddar cheese. But I really haven't done a comparison. Yeah,
I've tried the lentil hamburger and the red beet hamburger, and they are delicious. They are
Yes.
delicious. Yes, they are.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much, as you say, additional ingredients. They just say red beet hamburger and lentil hamburger, but I don't know what else is there.
I think I'm gonna try, especially since I have a lot more access to organically grown produce here. That I'm gonna try to find YouTube videos where I might make my own lentil and beet patties.
You can find so many. I've made
Yeah.
veggie burgers for, again, 30 years, and I
Exact-
fooled
yeah.
my son. Like, he thought they were hamburgers because he wouldn't.
Which is amazing. Do you have, so maybe that's the other thing that we can do in our community is start recipe sharing. And then, like, Alicia, aren't you part of this incredible like meal group where y'all like make food for each other and it's nutritious and good, and everybody who signs up into the group like does? It sounds amazing. And I feel like this is one of the initiatives, like food wise, that can be both sustainable and encourage people to cut meat out, like for 4 of their 5 nights. Or
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do like lunch sharing on a small scale, but then I've also like started collecting recipes, you know, to cook more vegan and more vegetarian. And so, you know, I'm like so OCD organized. So then I have it in a Google Drive and then like a document that actually I've started just sharing the document with people with all the links. And I wonder if on our website that you guys saw earlier today, like if that wouldn't be a good place to have submissions for more recipes and sharing. Because I mean, part of it's like finding good recipes. Like sometimes like those veggie burgers, I've tried different ones. Some of them are not as good as others. So
yeah.
having the opportunity to share that with the community, I think would be super cool. I know, Diana, like, I mean, you have, I'm sure, a great collection of recipes that I would love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that would be really helpful too, especially since
Yeah.
like looking at this presentation in obviously as well, like you end up thinking about how do you make a small impact first for yourself while also looking at its effects obviously on your own health and monitoring that while you decide, okay, is vegetarianism where I want to go, and then eventually, you know, scale it higher. But then having it in a place where all of us like can experiment and try to make our own, like we'll learn new things for ourselves, but also then being able to then communicate that within our community, like would be very helpful. So I think adding it to that site would be great.
All right, I'm on it.
Also, we all have access to the New York Times, and every day they do a great vegetarian recipe. I mean, they're so good. There's
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna
every
find
once in a while they have meat in them, but I would say 6 out of 7 days they're vegetarian. They're super
That's
good.
great. I had no idea.
Zuri, it's so nice to see you. We